right. It is a wonderful, beautiful Friday. Jaron Allen, where have you been, buddy? It's good to see you. Right on. First name in the door today. What is up? Missouri in the house. Right on. Oh, it's Gabriel Irwin and Hippie the Hills. Everyone is moving right along. Where Jessica, hello. There's Tally. And Jessica has come in. Right on. We'll see if Charlie rolls in today. If you guys are watching in Periscope land or YouTube, make sure you comment. I'm restreaming this. So that's the only way that I can see that you guys are there and participating. And if you want to be included in the show, you're just going to have to shoot me a message. And then if you're watching an archive of this on YouTube, share it, leave a message. Give me a comment, hit the like button. All those things help other people find the show. And hello to Anamika over in YouTube land. Thank you very much. Lee Kenton, how are you doing? So Jaron says he's been grinding. All right. Well, we've been grinding too, buddy. That makes two of us. And in the world that we're living in, I think grinding is it's our best bet, buddy. Because regardless of the lunatics who are pulling the strings, you and I, my friend, need to make sure that we keep our heads on straight, keep our eye on the prize, because none of these people are going to help us. They're filling their own pockets. That's right. That's right, Jaron. Lee Kenton, thank you, buddy. How are you? Good. Louise, it's good to see you. And Mika over in YouTube, I'm doing very well. I hope you are doing well as yourself. All right, guys. So, man, it's great to see you all. I had to miss yesterday. I was at a meeting. And guess what, guys? I got approved. I'm approved for my apartment in Vegas. So, I will tell you this. I got a little over 3 weeks before I am out of whatever is going on here, and I will see you guys over there. Louise says, good to see everyone. Yes, right on, Louise. And Louise says, hey to everyone too. So, all right, guys. So with all that news, Tally's asking if I have good credit. Yeah, I guess so. You know, I wouldn't say that it is stellar, Tally, but I will say that it is, it's good enough to get me to where I need to go. That's what about how good it is. You know, we're all working on credit. I think it's the old saying, if it wasn't for bad credit, I wouldn't have any credit at all. Now, I'm all right. I'm doing pretty good. Lee Kenton says, who faked your references? AJ did. Now, I'm pretty excited, guys. So, all right. Here's what I wanted to talk about today, guys. I wanted to discuss emotional manipulation because I had put out a tweet the other day that was showing how there are certain words that are trigger words, to use to not have a better word for it. That word has changed recently, but anyway, a triggering word that stirs you up emotionally. There are tons of them. I'm sure you have became familiar with words that trigger you, but if not, let me point them out and then I'll show you what to do. And the reason, it's, first of all, we have to accept the ground floor of this idea in order for it to work. The ground floor that is scientifically backed, whether you want to admit it or not. If you refuse to admit it, you'll be doomed to your own prison, a prison of your own makeup. However, if you are willing to admit the truth, then you have the ability to climb out of your prison. So, what is the ground floor? What is the truth that you have to come to terms with? The truth that you have to come to terms with is that we are emotional creatures. And though we like to, I think a lot of us can understand that, but to what degree do you understand that? Are you in agreement? Do you realize that you are being led around by your nose through your emotions? If you can come to terms with that, then you can start putting in the building blocks to get you out of the prison that you will be sentenced to without acknowledging that truth. Now, why is that truth difficult for us to grasp? Because we have a conscience and we're able to look at things logically and reasonably. And logically thinking, reasonable thinking, conscious thinking comes much more slowly than emotional response thinking. This is in Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow. Our automatic response system and primal brain acts very fast. Though that primal brain is rigged and tied up with your emotions. Why? Because in evolutionary development, it has been our emotions that drove the lizard brain. And so it's all unconscious. Food and sex and survival. Those are all primal and unconscious programmings. And so we don't acknowledge those programmings. We don't acknowledge how those emotions lead us around. We acknowledge the reasonable thinking, the logical thinking, the analytical thinking, because it's much slower. We see its process. So because one process is disappeared, it's subconscious, the other process is visible, then it's easy for us to acknowledge the analytical brain, the conscious brain, and we are able to see it all the time. So we tend not to realize how powerful our subconscious brain is. So once you're able to accept that fact, then you can move on to understanding how easily you're emotionally manipulated, what it looks like, and then begin to put the bricks down in order to climb out of your emotional responses. Now, you're unable to be immune to emotional manipulation because it's such a primal function. However, you can learn about it, learn how it drives you, put together boundaries and protective measures so that you're not so easily emotionally manipulated. This is incredibly important. So this is the work that we do in self-development. Learn your triggers. Learn when you get emotionally distraught. What were the words? How did it happen? What did it make you do? No one likes to admit when you perform badly. Nobody likes to admit when your emotional response gets you into trouble. But the sooner you can admit it, the sooner you can start putting together defenses to get you out of that quandary. So let's start to look at very easy behavioral trigger words that tend to piss us off. So here are 4 examples of words. This is from my tweet that I had put out that started gaining some traction. People were talking about. So here are 4 words that people do not like to be called. Adjectives that people do not like to be associated with. Number 1, arrogant. Okay. People get upset when they're called arrogant. They go out of their way not to be arrogant. However, I just did a whole show on why arrogance can help you get into the arena and start to get your ass kicked, to learn, to do things that you've never been before, to find the courage and the best to walk into the unknown. So arrogance will help you do that. So with arrogance, but the thing about this is, if you show a willingness to try, a willingness to walk into the unknown, knowing that you're about to to learn something, you're about to make mistakes, people who are unable to find that courage will disparage you and call you arrogant. So you can be arrogant and then never put yourself in a place to try new things because you don't want to be called arrogant. So what do you do about that? You have to accept the term. Do you want to be somebody who's willing to learn? Do you want to be somebody who's willing to make mistakes? Do you want to be somebody who is willing to go outside their comfort zone? If so, then arrogant might be a word that you have to get comfortable with. It needs to lose its power on you. If the word arrogant has power over you, then it can be used against you. I also want you to think about, as I go through this list, I'm not going to use racial slurs, but you can realize that people, ethnicities or sexual orientations or any of these other groups will take back words that in the past may have held power over them. So if you want a willingness to try to walk into the arena, to walk into the unknown, if you're going to build that for yourself, then you're going to have to get used, or the word arrogant is going to have to lose its power. So let's roll to the next one. Creepy. Guys, in my 15 years of doing the work that I have done, guys are so afraid to be called creepy or creepers. That's the death of them. But what's on the other side of creepy? Why would you get called creepy? For showing your intentions? To take a chance? To put yourself out there? It's a desire to show interest. So if you want to be rewarded for showing your interest, then you're going to have to get comfortable with the word creepy. It's going to have to lose its power, because somebody who is afraid to show their interest and see you gain from it will call you creepy. So creepy is another word. Here's one for you. A braggart. People are afraid, terrified. I hear it all the time in our 15 years of our online programs and live training programs. There are people who get to the bottom of their situation and realize that they have a fear of being demonized as a braggart. So, what's on the other side of that? In order for you to learn how to sell yourself and sell your services, you're going to have to get comfortable with the idea of being a braggart. Why? Because people who are afraid to sell themselves see you successfully do it, will call you a braggart. Now, this doesn't mean that you're creepy or arrogant or that you're a braggart. We'll set that up in a minute. But right now, we're talking about how do you move beyond that? You have to allow those words to lose their power with you. How do you allow those words to lose their power? Well, we're going to have to set up correct defensive measures, protective measures for those words to not carry any magic. All right, the next one is selfish. Who wants to be called selfish? In a relationship, you don't want to be called selfish. How about if one of your friends in a social group called you selfish? How would you feel? Well, you wouldn't feel very good. However, what's on the other side of being selfish? Being able to uphold successfully your boundaries. Who is going to call you selfish? Somebody who is looking to take something from you and you won't allow them to have it. You refuse to give it up. Why? Because maybe it would be detrimental to your own well-being. So how do you lose the power of selfishness? How do you allow that to not carry its magic? How do you desensitize yourself to these words that carry meaning that could trigger you into being emotionally manipulated? The only way these words carry power is if they can trigger you, if they can control you, if they lose their effectiveness, their efficacy to control you, they lost their power. You've moved beyond it. But notice each word I use there. I put up 4 words: arrogant, creepy, braggers, and selfishness. 4 words no one wants to have contributed to them, associated with them, but yet, in order to show a willingness to try, in order to show a desire to show interest, in order to learn how to sell yourself and your services, in order to set up boundaries, we're going to have to build resist to those words, because for other people who are unable to show those attributes, a willingness to try, to show interest, to sell themselves effectively, to set up boundaries, for those people who can't do that, they need to find words that bring you down. And if you're unable to build up resistance to them, then those words have control of you. And if those words have control over you, then you're easily emotionally manipulated. Now, there's tons of other words. I've used those 4 words as examples. They're words that no one wants to have attributed with them, and yet each one of them has a distinct success on the other side of it. So let's go to the comments. Brandon says, I feel like creepy just showing interest without reciprocation. Well, Brandon, what is reciprocation? Are you looking for the right things? It's quite possible that you are putting yourself out there and not seeing what you need to see. Because here's how the brain works, my friend. You see what you're looking for. Scientifically proven. That is the flaw, one of many. It's a bug, not a feature of how our brain works, my friend. Amicus says, in YouTube, we have to make ourselves a selfish person for our career. Well, in order to be successful, you're going to have to set up boundaries. Will some people call you selfish for enforcing your boundaries? Damn straight, all the time. All right, so with the last 10 minutes of this, now that I brought up these words, and I bet, guys, here's what you can do. You can post words in the comments. Post words that trigger you. Post words that you don't like to have contributed with you. Let's see what they are. For myself, When I was younger, I didn't like the word creepy. When I was younger, I didn't like the word braggart. I hated those words. Selfish, as a I'm a very giving person, but I hated that word. There's many others. But those are certainly words that I used in this tweet because I remember the power they held over me. So if you can think of words that used to hold power over you, what were they? Let's see what they were. All right. So how do you break the spell that they hold over you? Okay. Well, number one, Lewis says, thank you, Lewis. Lewis says, mine was selfish, especially when I started setting boundaries and it actually made me feel bad. Now listening to this, it helps. Well, I'm glad, Lewis, and I know your situation. We've talked before. So with that, setting those boundaries when it's new, yes, it's uncomfortable because you have to get used to setting those boundaries and sticking to them. But what's on the other side of that is a newfound respect that you'll hold for yourself and a newfound power, confidence over yourself to stick to those boundaries. So that's what you should be looking forward to. So how do we learn, now that we know the words that trigger us, you've written them down, you got a list together, what's on the other side of those words? What were the things that you were striving for where you heard that? Was it putting yourself out there? Was it selling yourself and your services that you were called a braggart? So here's how to do this. With the idea of being a braggart, you have to first write down or establish where did you hear it and how was it applied to you? Now, how was it applied to you? Was it applied to you because you were trying to impress somebody? Was it applied to you because you were maybe selling a service and somebody heard you do that and didn't like how you did it? You can always be a better salesman. There are plenty of tools. It's one of the skills that we learn and teach of persuasion here at the Art of Charm and our X-Factor programs. We work on all these things. Ninja Cat, hello, how are you? Ninja Cat says, I always try to help people, but I've been told that I was selfish. Yeah, it happens. It's usually when you put boundaries and people cannot emotionally manipulate you for not letting people do things their own way. That's exactly right. They get angry about that. They want it their way. They want you to do what they want you to do. And you will not let them have that power. So they then try to emotionally manipulate you. Understand, and here's one for you guys. You want to hear something crazy? You want your mind blown? You want to hear some natural facts about it? Emotional manipulation usually is one of the last cards played when they played all the other cards. It's usually a last-ditch effort into getting you to do something you don't want to do. Yeah. And it is the last tool that incompetent people will pull out to save their ass. Yeah. I will repeat that for you. Emotional manipulation is usually one of the last cards pulled. It's the last tool that people keep in their back pocket in order to get what they want. Rather than face their incompetence. Now, you want to know why that's pretty crazy? Let me tell you. Do you see any emotional manipulation going on in the world today, guys? Boom. Are you seeing any emotional manipulation being played on you right now by the media? Yeah. Guess what? They're out of cards. This is all they got left. So take that for what you want it to. Ninja Cat says they want you to feel sorry for them. That's exactly right. That is one emotional manipulation play, Ninja Cat. Here's how it works. When faced with their own incompetence, rather to take responsibility for it, they make you the bad guy. I'm the victim here. You are the bad guy. You made me feel this way. You made me do that. These people do not take any accountability for any of their actions. Brandon Palmer. Yeah, Brandon, you are exactly right. That's another word. I'm trying not to get too political, and that's politically charged at the moment, Brandon. But I think we're all clear in what I'm talking about here. And everyone does it. But here's the thing about it, guys. I need you, in order for you to be your best, in order for you to build a life worth fighting for, in order for you to get closer to your goals, you are going to have to shed the power that those words have over you. So understand why you were called that word. Write down what was on the other side of that word. What was the glory? What were you trying to do? What were you trying to learn? What were you trying to gain? And think about the ways that you can do a better job and gaining whatever it was, or building whatever it was, or getting closer to whatever goal you have. Because in order for you to be successful in any area of your life, you are going to have to break the chains of words that have an emotional hold over you. It's not easy. It's not pretty. And sometimes it'll even make you feel bad. But you have to build a story around what is important to you and why you're going after it, so that you can begin to break the chains of those words. Louise, you know what we're talking about, right, Louise? Louise, you have some very important goals that you are trying to achieve that are important to you for the next 18 years, my friend, if you know what I'm saying. And because of that, you are going to have to shed the power of those words as well, so that you can have the relationship and raise your little one the way you want to, my friend. It's important. Ninja Cat says, my grown children always do this to me, fake whininess. Children are incredible emotional manipulators. In fact, they're probably the best. But it's a child's toy. It's a child's tool. Know that when you're being emotionally manipulated, that's why. It's all they got. They're resorting to child's tools, to child's toys, to child's efforts. So understand what it is that you want. Define your life worth fighting for. Look at the values and the traits that you are going to have to build to make that happen for you. And then the work that is going to have to be in it. It's not bad enough that we got to go out there and we got to make mistakes, that we got to go out there and we got to fail, and that we got to go out there and look stupid in order to learn new skills. But guess what else? We also got to deal with other people's jealousy manipulation, authoritarian tendencies, because they don't have the boldness and the courage to do what you're doing. So they are going to go on the attack to try and stop you so they don't have to deal with their own inadequacies. So remember that when you're getting attacked, it's because you're doing the right things for you. Brandon Palmer says, look at your interview with David Goggins. One of my favorites, Brandon. And if you could tell how nervous I was in that video, David was one of my heroes going into that, and he wasn't very well known at that time. And I certainly had changed a lot in my life just over one Joe Rogan interview with David. But yes, look at your interview with David Goggins. Damn straight. People called him selfish when he started his transformation. That's damn straight, Brandon. And tried to hold him back because they felt bad about themselves. Well, that's just how it works. And these are just the things that if you want to be successful, and when I say successful, I mean happy. I mean waking up every day excited about life. Waking up every day excited about the life that you get to live. If you want to wake up excited every day about the life you get to live, then you're going to have to shed the power of those words. Now, with that, my fellow friends from Periscope, YouTube, and Insta, well, hello to you too, Katie. And so with that, I'm going to have to head out. I'll answer a couple questions here. But if you guys really enjoyed what I talked about today, and you want to learn more about building your life worth fighting for, shedding the power of these words, well, The Art of Charm has a year-long mentorship program called the X-Factor, where we bring out the best in you. And if you're interested in hearing more about that and want to check it out, all you got to do is message me on Twitter or here on Insta and just type me the words X-Factor. Yeah. And I'll get you that information. It's super rad. And we have lots of fun there. And we do all kinds of crazy stuff every week. And we make sure that you implement all these concepts so that you can see your life change and get awesome. All right. Rana asks, hey, do you have any advice on making good podcasts? Certainly. And I will take that as a compliment, because if you're asking me what it takes to make a good podcast, then that means you must think our podcast is great, if not good. And I will take that as a compliment. I will tell you this. Show excitement for being there. Show excitement for the guests you're talking to, and show excitement for the topic. If you show excitement about all of those things, then people will want to listen, because if you are interested, they'll take interest. So I would make sure you show your excitement. Now, how to show your excitement, Rana? Well, I will tell you, takes practice. I remember when we first started doing it, I was always very nervous. I always had a lot of ums and ahs and tapping on the table and was nervous, but I did want to show my enthusiasm. And it's actually one of the reasons I started doing this daytime show, so that it would force me every day to do some research, find a topic, and get excited to talk to you guys. And I hope you all enjoy it. Ninja Cat says, you always seem very excited. That's why I listen to you. Well, thank you very much. I try to show my excitement, but why wouldn't I want to be excited? I get to talk to all you amazing people every day when one of the craziest historic moments in our history. Isn't that rad? Jared Allen says, good seeing you and listening to the topic. See you soon. Thank you, buddy. I will see you guys. All right. Well, that is it for me, guys. I gotta go. I got a million things to do today, and I got a great day ahead of me living this life. Why? Because of the work that I put in and the work that we do here at AOC. So if you're interested, you know what to do. Text me X-Factor. Louise says, this has became my favorite coffee chat. Right on, buddy. It's good to see you. How to invite big personality our industry. Write everybody you want on the show. Write everybody. And they're not on, most of them are not going to answer you back. It's the ones that do answer you. Jessica gives me the thumbs up. You're awesome. And write to small creators as well as larger ones. Obviously, larger creators are going to be too busy. They might not even see your request. Smaller creators will. I try to go on every show that invites myself and AJ. So, don't look for the people who have millions of followers. Look for the people who have thousands of followers. Build a community around what you're doing, around people who are coming up and that you are giving value to, so that you can build a community around what you guys are doing, right? All right. Well, thank you guys very much. I will see you all Monday, 8 a.m. and see you soon. Have a killer weekend.